Everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the ZombPocalypse podcast. I'm here with my editor, Axton.
Hey, what's up?
My very first video, I know I don't want to strictly talk about zombies, but why the hell not start out with zombies? We want to do a little bit about movies right now, because the movie industry right now is kind of booming, including with gaming, but gaming will be in later episodes. So, the first person every time I think about zombies is George Romero. I believe George Romero is the father of all zombies, but if you think about it, some sort of zombies came around from, I believe from mummies or vampires or whatever and whatnot.
Yep. I feel like George Romero definitely started the whole zombie genre, being big. It kind of brought it to mainstream back in their 60s type Night of the Living Dead.
If I'm not mistaken, the first Night of the Living Dead, the first title was in black and white and came out in 1968.
Yep.
It's 2020 right now, so if you do the math, it was 52 years ago, give or take. So if you think about 50 plus years of zombies, even though he passed away, people still look up to him.
Yep.
If you talk to anybody who created zombie movies or zombie games, people say, yeah, George Romero is my influencer. He helped me to get some more ideas and maybe make it more better.
Yep. And he did that. He did do that cameo in Black Ops 1 Zombies.
I thought it was Black Ops 2.
It might be Black Ops 2. Yeah, it might. Yeah, Black Ops 2.
Because he was the main boss.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember playing that. That was. That was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely paved the way. There's nothing really like that old Night of the Living Dead.
But it's just not just Night of the Living Dead. There's Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. I think the second movie was Day of the Dead. Took place in the Dawn of the Dead took place in the mall. I could be wrong. It's between, I think the second one was Day of the Dead. Did take place in the mall. I know this Day, Dawn, Night of the Living Dead. Because I know the second one takes place in the mall. The next one takes place in an underground bunker, which...
Yep, that was the third one, I believe.
Yes, that's the third one, which the bunker one has a zombie name.
Bub. B-U-B.
B-U-B? Bub?
Yep,
oh,
Bub.
Bub. Fucking Bub.
Yep, Bub. Yeah, that scientist, they called him Frankenstein, because he worked on all those the zombies that they brought in. He was doing science experiments, and he was that one was specific because he started to get his humanity back in increments. And Frankenstein, he showed him how to hold a gun, how to shoot, and he was giving him flesh and everything, and that's actually the antagonist hated that he was giving him the flesh and everything. So then, yeah, he killed him, and then Bub took his revenge, and stuff like that. Was great.
Yes, and plus, of course, George Romero's famous signatures is when you see zombies ripping and tearing someone's inside out, ripping apart. That's his like signature right there. I don't care who the hell you are. That's his signature right there. That's pretty much where like gore movies wasn't accepted back then, if I'm not mistaken. That's like people make people go, yeah,
that it definitely. But that's what everybody like. If you talk to anybody nowadays that you just say, yeah, I love Night of the Living Dead, they're gonna be like, yeah, I love the gore in it. That was the number one. Like everybody loves it, and that movie became a cult classic. Basically, all of his movies have become a cult classic.
But I feel later on when he was going downhill, I feel like his movies weren't going down with him because they weren't as popular as the movies back in early 2000s, from 1968 all the way to early 2000s.
Yeah, I believe Land of the Dead was the one where people it didn't really fit in kind of with the older style of the movies. I think that's where it was starting to drop off a little bit. And then Diary of the Dead.
That was, I thought it was more hilarious than anything else. I watched that movie like so many times, especially with my dad, because he's a big George Romero fan. He's the one that got me into zombies in the first place. It was because of my dad, thanks to him. But speaking of Land of the Dead, he kept on with how zombies were evolving to like try and become human once again, because if you see in the beginning part of the movie, you see the zombies under in that one area trying to play instruments. And you see one playing the tuba, one the tambourine, even one with a not a saxophone but a trombone. And see the military men coming through, all the zombies are like, they look at them and trying to go after them. Then they all gather up and try to make a bigger horde, and when they see the town, they get up.
Fiddler's Green.
They got pissed because all the survivors are in that one area. And when you go into that area, this is pretty much what today is. If you have money and you have power, you be in those towers, and you try to see a person who tried to work up the chains, tried to go on their knees, being like a big old ass kisser, and when he gets up there, when everything goes downhill, he gets shut down. So that's.
And what really sucked about that is, all the high living people, they lived in Fiddler's Green where there was abundance of food, they had all these resources, and then all the area around there were just the slums where people were fighting to just survive. And then, and it was very bad considering like all the zombies and stuff like that. And then they definitely made that horde and did their attack on Fiddler's Green.
Yes. And unfortunately, I know that they tried to distract him with fireworks, but the zombies would be like, well, this is distraction. This is not what we want. And they turn around and attack Fiddler's Green, and unfortunately to the people who are unfortunate enough they're not in Fiddler's Green. And I remember one part of the movie, they came out of the water. That's just like, holy fuck.
That was actually a really good scene in that movie.
That's
a really good scene.
That's one of the best scenes in there. It's just all those zombies, all the heads just pop out, water just draining from their faces. It's just like, that's scary. That actually just kind of like, Oh shit.
Yep. Yep. Another favorite part was seeing the lead actors from Shaun of the Dead.
Oh yes.
Because George Romero he actually loved that movie.
Mm-hmm. So he said he wants Simon Pegg, and I forgot the other actor's name. And he wanted those two. He called them. I was like, hey, I want you on the set of Land of the Dead, but as zombies. Mm-hmm. And they were super excited, super stoked. They wanted to be part of the zombies, and I remember that part because they were like, take picture of the zombie, and they're like, yeah. I know those guys.
Yeah, they were using, the zombies were so regular in this universe that George Romero made that, yeah, they were just using them for entertainment, where people would fight them, and they were just everywhere at that point. Mm-hmm. And people weren't really afraid, per se, of the zombies then. They were just making fun of them and stuff like that.
Right. Let's take a quick break really for a second here. I want to thank Mew for letting us use his music. If you want to check out his YouTube channel, he makes dark music for creepypasta narrators. And of course, you probably can see his music all over the internet. So once you check out Mew, it's MYUU, which I put the link down in the description below. If you want to check him out, check out some of his music. His music is fantastic. And I am very thankful and very grateful he's letting us use his music. So, anyways, back to it. Speaking of Shaun of the Dead, that's have to be one of my top 10 movies of all time. Mm-hmm. It's I love how they make it not so much horror, and they made it more a funny horror movie. They made a different type of genre of horror movies in general.
Yep.
And I've seen those type of movies, and they're just absolutely garbage.
Yeah, a lot of movies that do that, they're just, they're not even worth the watch, really.
And if I'm not mistaken, George Romero attempt to do something like that. I honestly, I don't remember the title of the movie because it was just absolute garbage. But Shaun of the Dead, amazing movie, and if you look at the extras, you see the outtakes, and they're just having a good time on the set, just having fun. And one part of the movie that stood out the most, when they're all the group is just arguing with each other, then after they stop arguing, they turn and all the zombies are just looking at them.
Yep.
Just like, what the fuck?
Yep. Yeah, and so recently I came across that they were trying to make another one called Rise of the Living Dead. Mm-hmm. That one, it was to be announced. I think that one, either that one or Road of the Dead was supposed to come out in 2019, actually. But it still is to be announced. But Rise of the Living Dead, it would be a project from Cameron, George Romero's son, and it's supposed to be set before the first Night of the Living Dead in the 60s. So they're going back in time, going back to where they started, basically before that. I'm guessing it's going to be like the beginning stages of Night of the Living Dead.
So pretty much it explained how the zombies came.
Yeah,
basically.
That's what I'm guessing.
Well, hopefully we should try to keep track of that movie and give everybody updates of that movie. Just imagine if his son took place in George's shoes, making zombie movies. Do you think he can step up to the plate and make zombie movies great again? I'm not saying all zombie movies are horrible, but I feel zombie movies had a downfall. When you hear George Romero
you hear anything Romero, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep.
But speaking of, like, I believe, getting back on track, I believe that his son can actually step up in his shoes. But, of course, that movie hasn't been released because of what's happening today.
Yep, exactly. I believe that's also the case with Road of the Dead also, because that one is actually just TBA. And that one's a little interesting. It makes me think of Death Race in a way, because it says that it was made for being 6 years after Land of the Dead, on an island where prisoners race cars to entertain the wealthy. So I could see that going back to like Fiddler's Green, basically. But it was written by George Romero before he passed.
Oh, so that'd be a great movie to watch in honor of him. Even though he passed away a few years ago, but still his legacy still lives on throughout his movies, his interviews, and everything else in between.
Yep.
But speaking of his son, I feel that he, like I said previously before, I think he can step up in his shoes, in his father's shoes, even though there's big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Who else? But who knows George Romero more than his son? Like his dad probably taught him so much about that genre of zombies, and he was probably on set of some of them. If not, on some of them. So,
if not all,
I think, So I would think, I would definitely think that he would know what his dad, like the direction. I would hope.
Well, I'm sure that he will, but let's hope that he can step up to the plate. But speaking of other movies, there's a remake of Dawn of the Dead that took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in a mall. And before I continue on with that, but like I want to mention in the beginning, there's so many types of zombies that branches off from the beginning of time, like 1968. You get the regular, people now say the Walking Dead zombie, the slow, stupid zombie. Then you get zombies like that are in games, that are in books, and that are in TV shows even. I think the main use of a zombie is a slow walking, stupid zombie.
Yep.
And when we discussed before, I think the most dangerous zombie, it has to be the running zombie, which Dawn of the Dead, the remake version, introduced the running zombie. I could be wrong, though. If zombies could mutate from a regular zombie, I honestly been thinking about this. If a person who first gets infected, they should be able to run because the body hasn't fully decomposed.
Yeah, so their bones aren't all destroyed and things like that. So yeah, they should be able to, like the fresh zombies, basically.
But they shouldn't be able to run for much longer because if the body decomposes within 24 to 48 hours, they start to blow. Everything starts to stiffen because of the lack of blood flow. But I'm no doctor, though. I'm no expert whatsoever. That's just my own opinion. But I feel like they can, from running to like jogging to be the slow and stupid and so on and so forth. But like you mentioned before, and Zombieland Part 2, there's like 4 or 5 different types of zombies. There's the Homer zombie, the Ninja zombie, the Epstein zombie, and the Brute zombie.
The Hawking.
The Hawking.
The Hawking zombie, yeah.
Yes, so...
Yeah, that one was pretty interesting. I remember watching that movie, and whatever they were talking about, the Homer zombie, and that way that they named it the Homer zombie, because it acts just like Homer Simpson. That's so funny.
Right.
And man, that ninja zombie though would be very, very scary to be up against, because he literally came out of nowhere. He literally came out of nowhere. Yeah, and the Hawking zombies, they try to like trap, or they try to outsmart the humans, which is insane. And then the T-800.
Oh yes, T-800
from the Terminator. Yeah, that's a good name too. I love so many of the references in those movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
I guarantee that you can probably name 5 different references from that movie. Well, both movies alone.
Yeah, both movies alone. I love I call it the Great Twinkie Chase.
Yes. Yes. Hell yeah.
That one was great.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
But the next question I want to ask is, what type can the human race survive on the regular zombies, like the Walking Dead zombies, the 1968 zombie, the slow and stupid? Do you think the human race will be able to survive?
I feel like since we actually have had so many zombie movies and games, I feel like a lot of people would know what to do. But also on the other hand, I would think that they would think that they would be able to take them on, but then just completely get demolished by them. Like, oh, I think I can get this, and then just runs over there and just gets eaten. But yeah, I feel like we've had a long time to prepare if it does ever happen, which I don't know if it will, but yeah. Anything can happen.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I agree with you. I think we are able to survive, but I think people get really too cocky, and that's the problem. And like I was mentioning to you before, I feel like the human body needs to relax, to eat, and everything else. The zombies don't. That's their advantage.
And if you're under that much stress and everything, of being tired, of having to watch over yourself at night, and stuff, that would definitely add on to it. And you could see also from The Walking Dead or like Dead Rising, for instance, you see all those psychos that just go crazy from all that, and I could see that actually happening because of the lack of sleep, the constantly under pressure, try to survive.
Yeah,
the choices that you'd have to make.
Every decision is critical. But with the running zombies, I think the human race would be doomed if they are able to run all the time.
Yep.
Because if they're able to run, myself, I'm a big guy, I'm screwed.
Yeah, they wouldn't get exhausted, they wouldn't get winded, they won't get tired, they'll just keep running after you with, like, if nothing is in their way, they'll just continue chasing you. And I feel like a lot of people, if you don't have, like, if you don't run every single day, then I think it would be a tough fight against that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even the fittest man in the world can keep on running and running and running, but there's only so much he can run.
It's only so much.
Because his feet will get tired, they get blisters, and he get fatigued. Then, boom, done.
Yep.
But
if you can't find a safe haven, then gone.
What do you think would be the best safe haven in America?
Ooh. I don't know. I might have to take over. I might have to do like what they did in what was it, Dawn of the Dead, where they went to the mall. Just imagine Mall of America, but how many zombies would be in there?
Oh my fucking god! Yes.
Because I mean, you would have food, you would have resources, you would have there. I think there's a knife shop in there, I believe. So you'd have weapons, and you could honestly, it would. Yeah, I'm going back to Dead Rising, but that's one of my all-time favorite games.
That'll be a later episode.
Yeah, that'll be a later episode. But I feel like that. It would be really hard to be able to control and keep under control from zombies, because there's so many exits, there's so many entrances, there's different places So you'd have to do a lot of work to block off those areas.
Right. But continuing on, yeah, Left 4 Dead is one of my other favorite games too, but you can't just run around with a frying pan and kill them.
Which was pretty great in that game, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know how far you would survive. That thing would be completely dented probably after the first zombie. So, because you're thinking you're just hitting dead weight at that point. So it's just all that strength and force behind it. It's gonna dent the hell out of it.
Oh hell yeah, for sure, man.
I don't know. Sometimes you'd probably hit it and the handle would break off. So that's one of those weapons that very untrustworthy. I feel like.
If all right, here's a question for you. If the zombie outbreak happened at your work, would you think you'd be able to survive there for at least a week or two?
At my work, I mean, we have vending machines, but we don't really have. I mean, I could make some weapons because I work at a place that manufactures lawnmowers. So blades, I do have blades. I have raw parts, all that. I think I could do something. I could makeshift something. What about you?
Yeah, I work at a welding shop, so I can fabricate a shit ton of weapons. If I have power, then yeah, I'd be able to fabricate different type of weapons, especially long range weapons. We do have vending machines, and there's like 5 different plants around, so I can go to different types of vending machines. But in the end, I think it'd be kind of dangerous because I got overhead doors that have to close. And have to go by the offices and make sure those doors are secured, which I'm be able easily to frickin' weld some barricades across the doors.
Shit, that would be great. That's a great skill to have.
Yeah,
it's definitely a great skill to have.
Exactly, but I think given to the best circumstance, since as all the way in Rothschild, I think the population good in like the over 20,000 for the population, and I'm surrounded by hotels and everything else. In the best case scenario, I believe I'm able to survive there for at least a good week or two. But there's like trucks there I can easily drive through, like big like septic tank trucks. I can easily drive through, but I'm over by the highway, so it'll be, a little harder to get home.
Yeah, it would be, because the traffic would be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Where I work, it's mostly out in the country, so it's just basically one road all the way through, so it would be pretty hard, but we don't have that high of a population either, so I feel like it's a lot better to be out in the country rather than in the city. And you could see that from that other Walking Dead, from where it first started,
all the way in Atlanta.
Yeah, Fear of the Walking Dead.
Yes,
where it first started.
Speaking of that, I need to rewatch those episodes.
Yeah, being in the city would be a terrible thing. I would say go out to the country, because you could grow food. You would definitely have to have a weapon. Definitely being out here, but you wouldn't really see too many zombies, I don't think, being out in the country, unless they do go in search of food.
Right. Next question is, do you think our government will react on time if there was some sort of an outbreak?
I feel like they could. We do have one of the biggest militaries, so if they did catch wind of anything like that happening, I feel like they would try to stop it right where it started. And they would try to contain it to where it wouldn't spread. But it's also, there are mistakes that are made.
Yes.
And so that's a hard one. That's really a hard one.
I guess, in my own opinion, I think our government is able to contain it at a proper level. But like you said, there are mistakes, because we're all humans. Humans make mistakes. but depending on how the virus spreads.
Yeah.
But let's go realistically here. The virus can spread by bites, scratches, and blood. Okay? And if you get blood on your skin, it has a chance of going to a cut and soak into the skin if it's not properly cleaned.
Yep.
It's like with HIV or anything else like that. So we gotta treat it as like a regular disease. And of course, as a person who's like a soldier could be extremely tired and could be taking off his equipment and could be extremely careless.
Yep.
And could get into a cut without him knowing. Yep. Then he goes home, depends where his home is, let's say like Madison or New York or frickin' Colorado, not Colorado, that's more of like, not so high, like higher populated cities.
Like Los Angeles?
Yeah, LA for sure. And it can easily spread it so quickly. So, but even so, I think the military is able to contain it at a good fashion and a good speed too. But worst case scenario, I know a lot of movies, games, and books like to have our government like a bunch of idiots, power hungry, and everything else like that. So if our government, which I'm not going to talk, this is not a government like a politics thing, but I feel that our government will be able to take care of it. If they don't, then I guess
it would just continue on. It would spread, and it'd be up to everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, humans have conquered worse things, but this has to be the part of one of the worst case scenarios because it's worse than the Spanish flu, the Black Plague, and everything else in history. So I feel that the human race can adapt and continue on. But we're almost out of time here, but I think there's going to be possibly a part 2. But anyways, I want to thank everyone for watching. In our next episode, I'm going to try to have more guests. We're going to try to have more guests on here. I know there's a Instagram person who's currently writing a book. His name is Sam, but his Instagram goes by Zombie Inspiration. He posts different types of pictures, and he has to write like a paragraph of a story, and it's supposed to inspire people to like writing books, stories, and everything else like that. I did talk to him. He said he's interested in going to our podcast, but that will be a later date. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Stay safe out there, and if you want to be part of the Zombie Nation, come and join us. If not, I'll see you on the Survivor side.
Sweet dreams are made of screams. Those who lost their minds